Kris. Thanks for joining. So I'm just going to start off by asking you about when you started to lose hearing and when you got cochlear implants.
I was born with a congenital hearing loss of about 90 to 95% on each ear. And I did not get my first cochlear implant until I was the age of 37, about a year and a half ago. I got my second cochlear implant about 6 months ago.
What did you do before that?
Before I got my bilateral cochlear implants, I used to wear hearing aids. And my hearing aids would be relatively good about amplifying the things that I could not hear, but they could not help me distinguish um, very subtle differences in English, such as some of the consonants and sounds that are higher frequency.
Okay, what kind of sounds are higher frequency that you're talking about?
Higher frequency sounds such as S, T, Z, or being able to distinguish vowel sounds such as E or A, or things that I found easier with my cochlear implants in comparison to my hearing aids. The other thing I would say about hearing aids is hearing aids did a really good job of amplifying everything,
Mm-hmm.
including background noise, but my cochlear implants had programs that allowed me to downregulate some of the background noise and concentrate on speech. And I found that to be incredibly helpful in helping me to navigate situations where there were many speakers involved.
Great. Glad to hear that it's working out well for you. What types of background noise do you think are the worst?
The easiest background noise would be things that are not speech related. So, for example, an engine or a car, those are easier background noises to distinguish speech and from non-human noises. The background noises that are hardest to distinguish are when there are multiple conversations happening around you, and I find that that's very difficult to navigate.
Any other sounds that you thought sounded really different with a cochlear implant than with your hearing aids?
When I got my cochlear implants, I was able to hear birds for the first time. I've
Wow.
never heard the tweeting of birds in my neighborhood. I heard my cats meowing for the first time, and I discovered a whole world of really annoying sounds. Um, the other thing that I was able to distinguish with my cochlear implant were the low level noises that happen in the background, such as like a refrigerator running or
Mm-hmm.
humming. Um, Even though those are not important for understanding what's happening in the world, they were interesting sources of sound that helped to enrich my experience.
Do you have any consonants or vowels besides the ones that you've already said, which are the higher frequency ones, that you confuse or that are hard to hear?
Mhm. On many different, there are many different types of programs that allow us to do auditory training, and some of the most difficult sounds to distinguish are the constant that correspond with a vowel. So, for example, things like bat, cat, dat are difficult to hear. Nat, mat is
Hmm.
a very difficult. It's very difficult to distinguish between N and M.
Okay.
It's difficult to distinguish between the C, D, G sounds, which tend to they tend to have a constant in front of them that distinguishes the vowel sounds. Yeah, the things like N, M,
Mm-hmm.
and the E sounds, like the C, D, E, V, Z, they have distinct beginnings with the same endings.
Is it easier to hear higher or lower pitches?
That's a great question. I think it's easier to hear lower pitches than it is higher pitches.
Okay. Does that correspond to hearing male voices over female voices?
Female voices tend to be difficult to hear the male voices because of the higher pitch.
Do you still enjoy music?
I do not enjoy music as much as I did with hearing aids.
Why do you
And I
think that
think
is?
and I think it's because my cochlear implants tend to optimize for speech rather than the wide range of frequencies that are associated with music.
Do you feel like the music that you hear now is less rich, like it has less sound in it than with the hearing aid? Okay.
The music that I hear right now is a little less rich. It seems more digital.
Okay.
I feel like I can understand and hear music, although it doesn't bring me the same kind of enjoyment because I feel like there are limited ranges to the frequencies that I hear. I can hear and listen to music, but it's nowhere near as like enjoyable or anything like that as it was with my hearing aids.
Can you understand the lyrics in music?
Mhm.
Have you noticed any changes in mental fatigue with cochlear implant programming changes?
I do notice a great change in my mental fatigue with the cochlear implants. When I first, at the beginning of my implantation, there was a lot of mental fatigue because my brain had to adapt to understanding a new way of processing sound. However, after 6 months, I found myself having to spend less energy trying to understand what was happening. And I think a lot of it had to do with being able to distinguish a lot of the constants and the vowel sounds that I was unable to understand or hear with my hearing aids.
Do you find that when you're listening to voices that they sound different than they did with your hearing aids, and how?
I think it's been about a year and a half, almost 2 years since I got my first cochlear implant. But from what I remember, voices sound almost identical to when I had hearing aids, although they sound more clear and crisper.
Anything else that you want to say about your experience with cochlear implants, either getting them, how it's changed things for you, challenges?
Getting my cochlear implants allowed me to pursue a career in medicine and gave me the confidence to hear people who will become my patients someday. And I am very grateful for having this technology to help me overcome the hearing loss that I had earlier in my life.
And I'm sure that your future patients will be grateful to have you as their doctor. So
Thank you.
I'm glad that that could be enabled by this technology as well.